Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Adam the Fanatic.
And I'm Kayden the Fanatic.
And today we're taking a look at
Aethermon Collect,
a set collection game by Aethermon Studios. Now, I know I've said it before, but it bears repeating.
Here we go again.
Please do not name your company after your first game. It really limits your image going forward. With that being said, though, let's dive in and take a look. In Aethermon Collect, 2 to 4 players will be attempting to score the most points possible by collecting colorful creatures. Before setup, you'll need to decide whether you're playing cooperatively or competitively. We're going to look at the competitive mode first. There are 8 elements in the game: Earthformed, Fireforged, Moonlit, Nature-Grown, Skyward, Sunkissed, Thunderstruck, and Waterborne. If playing with 2 or 3 players, separate Aethermon by their elements, then pick 2 elements per player and shuffle them together. If playing with 4 players, simply shuffle all Aethermon together. You'll then deal out cards into a grid: 5x5 for a 2-player game, 6x6 for 3, or 7x7 for 4. For a 2 or 4 player game, you'll have a gap in the middle. Take the group token and place it in the middle. For a 3-player game, the last player chooses any corner to start the token on. After that, it's time to draft artifacts. Shuffle up the artifact deck and deal out a number of pairs equal to the number of players. The pairs are determined at random when dealt and cannot be changed. Then, starting with the last player and going counterclockwise, every player chooses 1 pair of artifacts. Artifacts give special abilities that let you manipulate Aethermon or move in ways you normally wouldn't be able to, but each may only be used once per game, so time them wisely. And with that, you're ready to begin. Gameplay in Aethermon is quite simple. On your turn, you may move the group token as many spaces as you want in a single direction, either horizontally or vertically. For chess players, the instructions describe it as a rook move. When you move to an Aethermon, you immediately collect it. Although some artifacts allow you to swap out one of your Aethermon for another on the board, there's no way for opponents to disrupt what you've already taken. On your turn, you may choose to use artifacts. Each of them will tell you how and when they may be used. I'm not going to go over all of them, as they are unique, but here's a few so you can have an idea of what to expect. The Rocket Shoes allows you to move like a knight for 1 turn, while Flying Cape allows you to teleport to any 3-point Aethermon before moving, but you don't collect the one that you land on. The Boxing Gloves allow you to skip your turn in order to take 2 consecutive turns next time, while the Mechanical Bird allows you to swap a 3-point Aethermon you control for any 1-point Aethermon on the board. You may be asking why you'd want to do that. It'll make a lot more sense once we get to scoring. The game will continue with each player getting to make a single move and collect a single Aethermon. Eventually though, the grid is going to become more scarce, and players will be forced to move to empty spots. When each player has taken a turn without any players collecting an Aethermon, the game ends and you'll move on to scoring. Though be sure to check your artifacts, as some may activate at the end of the game. When scoring, each player will look at the Aethermon they've collected. Each has a base value from 1 to 3 listed in the top left corner. However, most Aethermon belong to a set. You can see which form a set by looking in the top right corner. If you collect all the Aethermon within a set, the point value of that set is doubled. On this point, it's important to note that each element consists of 2 sets, a 1 and 2 and a 1, 2, 3 set, as well as a lone 3-point Aethermon. Collecting small sets will give you a total of 6 points, whereas a set of 3 is worth 12 points, which means that a completed set is worth at least an equal number of 3-point Aethermon. After adding your points together, the player with the highest total wins. If 1 or more players are tied for first, then whichever player among them went last wins the game. And those are the rules for playing a standard competitive game, although the instructions also include a number of suggestions for alternative ways for players to interact with the artifacts. And, as aforementioned, there is a cooperative mode as well. Cooperative setup for 3 or 4 players is mostly the same, however, you will not be using artifacts. If playing with 2 players, set up as you would for a 4-player game with a 7x7 grid. 2 players has a few other special rules we'll get to in a moment. For all player counts, keep a couple things in mind. Firstly, you may never take an Aethermon if another player already has a card from its set. Secondly, the game ends as soon as any 1 player is unable to claim an Aethermon on their turn. For 2 players, you have an added stipulation that each player may only move along a single axis. The first move may be made either horizontally or vertically, but once it's made, that player may only move along that axis in the future, and the other player may only move along the opposite axis. Once the game is ended, players will add their scores together. Included with the game is a chart which gives you some goals to shoot for. Good luck catching a high score! As you're likely already aware, I don't normally do component reviews for crowdfunding projects. However, I have been informed that the copies sent out to reviewers are from the actual first print run of the game, so what you're seeing here is exactly what you'll get. There's really only two things to talk about here. First and foremost are, of course, the cards themselves. They're of decent thickness, but they're not textured. And on the subject of the cards, I simply cannot overstate just how well they knocked it out of the park with the art on these. Obviously, they're imitating the style of Pokemon, and particularly the works of Sugimori Kayden of Game Freak fame, and they did an absolutely flawless job in this regard. If someone were to show me these designs and tell me that they were artwork for Gen 10 or upcoming DLC for Gen 9, I probably would have been fooled. But back to the components themselves, there's also the acrylic standee. It's nice and solid, though it does come apart for easy storage. I do, however, feel a need to briefly criticize the choice to include the rules on a stack of cards rather than printing a small manual. Admittedly, it's not a major issue, but I still feel that a book would have been a better choice overall. Available as part of the Game Found campaign, you'll also be able to purchase a couple different pins. Now keep in mind this is an alternate coloration that will not be available as part of the main campaign. However, you can see here that we have Follow Wolf. As games are my expertise and not pins, I've opted to let my sister Melise, who does collect pins, to talk about it and compare it to some in her collection.
So the Aethermon pin with cute little Follow Wolf, as you can see, is a nice high quality metal. And it even has the brand logo on there, which is like your #1 sign of top quality pins. Whereas this one, which is more generic, has a compressed metal. So this one with the compressed metal, and this other one I have with compressed metal, are your cheaper pins, and they're not going to last as long. These ones are likely to snap and break. But this one is very high quality. It's not just pressed metal. It's not a composite. And of course, the style here never last as long. Then I have this one, which is, you can also see like the thickness of these. This one's a lot thicker. This one's pretty decent, almost as thick as Follow Wolf pin. Has no weld marks on it, so it's strong and sturdy and it's going to stay. Whereas this one I have, you can see the weld marks and it's more likely to fall off, even though it's a little bit better quality than these ones. And then the ultimate test, we compare it to a Disney pin. Both of them are very high quality. They're nice and smooth on the top where you don't feel the ridges, whereas this one I feel them a lot. And they're actually the same thickness. They're the same weights almost. You can see they both have the logos on the back, and both of them, the pins, you don't see any welding marks. So these are ones that you can put on a bag and you don't have to worry about them getting damaged or falling off. Whereas these ones here, I wouldn't necessarily do that with them. They're going to fall off and break eventually. So their pins are actually very high quality, and I can't wait to get more of them. And I got a special blue one!
All in all, Aethermon Collect is a fun, fast-paced little title that's great for when you want to warm up or just want something shorter. And as my nephew here can attest, it's also great for children as well, though particularly young ones may need help reading the artifacts and understanding what they can do. You may want to simply skip artifacts if they're especially young. Taking it to the FLGS, it went over well with adults as well, and it has enough choices to keep things interesting. On the downside, it can get a little difficult to keep track of the position of the pawn once there are few cards left on the board. However, the Game Found campaign will offer an optional playmat, which will help with that. So Kayden, what did you like about the game?
What's it called when you go this way?
That's called moving horizontally.
I like being able to move horizontally.
So you don't like moving vertically then? Okay. Was there anything you didn't like about the game?
The Cooperative Mode, whatever it's called.
Yeah, you told me you didn't like not being able to collect all the sets in the cooperative mode.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes it challenging, though.
Yeah, that we both didn't really get to.
Yeah, if we could do it right on the first game, then what would be the point in playing again, right? It has to be a challenge to get us to play again. So did you have a favorite Aethermon?
The mountain.
As for myself, I also enjoyed the game, and its compact size means that I'll often be bringing it to game nights. It's not a grand adventure, but it's fun, fast to play, and has wonderful artwork. In conclusion, I find it to be worth a solid 7.7 out of 10. Aethermon will be launching on GameFound soon. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. Do mind that below is a referral link. That means that if you decide to purchase it through this link, you will be helping to financially support this channel. On one final note, if you like the theme but want something that feels a bit more like battling monsters, be sure to keep an eye out for Aethermon Studios' next title, Aethermon Ascent. But what about you? What do you think of Aethermon? What set collection games do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave that in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.